Good morning. I want to welcome everybody to another day of Reconnect Dive Deep. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Everybody is on mute right now, but we do encourage you to send questions in for Michael. You can do that through the Q&A module. It's at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We also might open up the floor for some open questions or conversation throughout. So if we get to that point, you'll just raise your hand and we'll open up your microphone. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started today. This presentation is PeopleSoft Path to the Cloud. And at this time, I'll pass it over to Michael.
Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. And then let me go ahead and minimize a big head over here on the right. So good morning. My name is Michael Marthy. I'm coming to you live from Port Orchard, Washington, where the sun has not quite came up yet. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you might be, across the nation, across the world. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm a managing consultant at Elire, INC. I am in our Cloud HCM practice. I come from a heavy PeopleSoft background as a customer in the Department of Energy. Heavy PeopleSoft shop, worked in PeopleSoft for about 10 years, very techie on the application designer, PeopleTools development side. A huge fan of PeopleSoft, and personally, I had to undergo that transformation into the Oracle Cloud Applications platform. So what did that move look like? How did I overcome the struggles, hurdles, successes, and smiles? For me, it was a big change going from a full-blown platform of PeopleSoft where we can really customize and do unique things that our organizations warranted. How does that look in the cloud? And I'm hoping to share some of that insight with you today. And currently, as an implementation partner, ever since I've just been doing cloud implementations, and a lot of the times moving from PeopleSoft into cloud. And how does that map? What does that mean for us? So at Elire, what we like to look at cloud implementation as is within three distinctive buckets, or 3 days, if you will, right? Day zero is you're currently on PeopleSoft today. You're optimizing PeopleSoft. You're taking on your PUM updates. You're rolling out enhancements, cool new functionality like Fluid or Kibana. You're doing your customization analysis and understanding what does that landscape look like? How do we refine and make our systems more efficient, automating our testing? So you're really optimizing your PeopleSoft investment, but you're also looking forward. What's next? How do we plan to get to cloud? What is our readiness for our organizations? And what does that pathway to the cloud look like? The second bucket is day one. We're in the heat of implementation. We're doing the conversions. We're doing the configuration and standing up of our cloud system. And then day two, once we're live, we're now enhancing and growing our cloud Oracle Cloud App System, taking on enhancements, all the cool new features that we see at the Oracle Cloud Worlds, the journeys, the Redwood UIs, really the icing on top of the cake. After you lay that solid foundation, you're able to grow and take advantage of the cool new functionality that gets dropped very, very frequently in Fusion apps. So what we want to talk about today is really between day zero and day one, right? So how do we prep our resources, our people, our technology? How do we start aligning those today in order to make a successful move to Oracle Cloud Apps? And I'm talking, SaaS Fusion applications on OCI. So, want to make sure to throw that out there. And
Hey,
specifically,
Michael.
yep.
I'm sorry. It took you out of presentation mode. So I just want to let you know you
Oh,
are in. Yep. I just wanted to grab you before you got too far.
no worries. Yeah, I'm already 2 slides down the road here. Thank you.
Yeah, we can see, but yeah, we'll just get
Oh,
you. Yeah, we can see your
presentation mode.
deck. It's just there you go. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. You're
Okay,
ready
there
to
you
go
go.
now. Yep. Bye.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Got to see the whole deck there. Preview. So yeah, some key aspects that we want to think about, making a move from PeopleSoft to cloud. These are key areas that we need to be thoughtful of when we're laying out our pathway, right? first things first, what is our catalyst and motivation to go into the cloud? Do we have a vision as an organization, and at all levels of our organization, do we understand what that value proposition of moving to Oracle Cloud Apps is, right? What are we going to get? What are the benefits? What are the risk avoidance that we're doing, making this transformation? People and technology. So do we have access to the right technology? Do the right people have the access to the right technology at the right time? Do we have the team that's going to take us across the line for an implementation? Customization footprint. So, as we're working on our current PeopleSoft infrastructures and systems, do we understand how invasive our customizations are? What they're doing, what the meaning and the decisions behind those customizations are, and how do they map to a future state in Oracle Cloud? So start cataloging customizations now and understanding what that footprint is, and you're going to more readily be available to do that mapping when it comes time to do an implementation into cloud. The roadmap and plan, right? So when you're going live, is it going to be transformational, total big bang? You're going fully live between core HR and payroll? Or are you doing a phase approach where you're incrementally rolling out capabilities such as performance or learning, taking modules, best of breed modules that perhaps you don't have that functionality for today? Maybe you have a manual performance process, but you want to take advantage of the performance module in cloud. You can also roll out incrementally, right? It doesn't need to be a full A to Z, full-blown implementation. Change management. So oftentimes these projects are huge. Most of the time, they are huge transformational projects. Are we communicating to our users and end customers what this means to them when we go live? Hey, we're going to a new HCM system. Here are the benefits and modern practices that we're going to reap from moving to this platform. Oftentimes I go back to, this is probably one of my hurdles that I had in PeopleSoft, was rolling out 9.2 as part of Fluid. Fluid was a new modern interface for PeopleSoft, something that customers had been wanting, year after year, asking for. PeopleSoft looks antiquated. Okay, we need an update to the experience. Guess what? Fluid comes down the pipeline. We start rolling out homepages, clouds, activity guides, nav collections, all this really cool stuff. But there's still that population of users that had resistance and pushback, and wanting breadcrumbs back, for instance. And it really comes down to setting the expectations and communicating early and often, so that you can minimize that resistance and pushback. A lot of the times it's not just change; you're making improvements and really trying to elevate that experience for your users. So same thing with going to cloud. It's a really transformational project. You are getting new ways to interact with your HCM ERP systems. A lot of very elegant interactions there, especially through Redwood UI, which now PeopleSoft has built in as well. But just make sure to keep that line of communication at all levels open. I think that goes without saying. It's kind of natural behavior, and then growth. So make sure you bake the cake right. Standing up a cloud system is like a recipe. You have to build your foundation solidly first. Then you're able to take advantage of all the cool new AI, generative AI, Redwood UI, enhancement type capabilities that are really the icing on top of the cake. But you got to be able to do your basic things first. Can I hire somebody? Can I give them benefits? Can I pay them? Can they enter time? Can I recruit people? As long as you can do those critical activities within your HCM system and you lay that foundation, you're going to enable your organizations to take advantage of cool new features. So definitely keep the foundation in mind. So I'm going to dive into each of these 6 areas specifically. Each of them warrant their own set of slides. So we'll go ahead and dive into it. So first things first, I mentioned this, understanding your catalyst as an organization of what is driving you to cloud, right? And from top down, do you have your champion, your executive leadership that understands the vision, that value proposition, and all the way through the people, in the code, doing development, doing configurations, that whole slew, all the way to your end users? Do you understand why you're going to cloud, right? And oftentimes these are long engagements, many year engagements. So maybe you know that answer at first, but remind yourself often of why you're motivated to make this move, and just keep the team motivated and along the same tracks and going in the same direction. So some of the motivations that we're often seeing that drive organizations to the cloud: long-term corporate strategy, a huge one, right? Maybe you want, as an organization, to move to a modern cloud platform where you're taking disparate systems, finance, supply chain, HCM, and you're wanting to unify those into one platform. A huge benefit of moving to the cloud, a many-year project. So maybe it's part of your strategy and into the future. Reduction in capital investments. We all know that upgrades and maintaining the hardware servers for an on-premise system often become costly. So do we want to put that on somebody else's infrastructure and use best practices in maintaining that layer on below our applications? Outdated legacy systems. So a lot of times we'll see what I like to call customization paralysis. Is you have these systems that are quite bloated with customizations and so burdened that it makes it hard to take on PUM updates and really update and optimize, maximize your PeopleSoft investment. So that's something we often see, especially on older tools, older PUM versions. And PeopleSoft does a very great job at continuously deploying new functionality, but if you have a system with so much customization that you're not able to take advantage of that, that's also a catalyst to say, hey, how do we get rid of all this baggage and all, how do we reassess these customizations, and maybe we need them, but is there a smarter way that we can do these rather than invasively in, a code line or in the database? Can we extend these? Perhaps, we can put them into a new functionality that's dropped. I'm thinking along the lines of like event mapping or drop zones, activity guides. Is there opportunity to redo these customizations that we need as an organization, but can eliminate some of that invasiveness that we see? Licensing and security concerns. So just on top of that, are we having a hard time keeping our systems up to date? And maybe there's cybersecurity mandates that we need to keep, on the latest tools version, that oftentimes we're just in maintenance mode and trying to catch up our system to the newest version. We're not really able to take advantage of new functionality, and we're just always in catch up mode, and we're maintaining all these artifacts that we've rolled over for the past 20-30 years. And I forgot a big one that's not on this slide: the knowledge gap, right? And I've lived this. I worked in a PeopleSoft team that was very strong. A lot of senior members that acted as great mentors to me. They knew their modules, they knew all the integrations between them. But that population is aging, right? And they retired. They, as well deserved, right? They went on to that next chapter of life. We had a hard time bringing in new PeopleSoft talent, new developers, new functional resources that want to come learn to work, how to work on a timesheet. It's not the new snazzy technology necessarily that is attracting developers into our teams. So I think that knowledge gap is another big catalyst, right? And do we have the people that are going to be able to maintain all all these artifacts and your current foundation, your core foundation of your PeopleSoft systems, as well as those customizations on top? I think that's one we're seeing more and more is, that knowledge gap of knowing PeopleSoft, PeopleTools. And, me, myself, I'm a big fan, and, I've talked to friends about coming in and, well, sorry, timesheet sounds great, but I guess it takes a special heart. So benefits that we're seeing of going to cloud, right? So minimizing those customizations, and you're kind of forced to do more of that extensibility approach. So Oracle's delivering and deploying new functionality to you every quarter. You can take it, leave it, but once a year, you're getting updated, right? You're getting those updates. Your system is going to be modern. And Oracle's maintaining that for you. You don't need to pause and schedule in a full-blown upgrade to take on these new functionalities. So we're seeing that agility. So kind of what PeopleSoft with its continuous deployment approach, you're seeing that even more beefed up, right? They're kind of implementing Oracle HCM in a way that prevents you from being able to take on these new functionalities and readily have that capability. Modernization of user experience. And I'd argue, PeopleSoft has a lot of modern interactions and experiences within a system through Fluid, Redwood UI styles coming through a lot of the components there. Cloud is even more beefed up, I would say. If and I'll get into the system a little bit, but the Redwood UI, new pages being deployed using Visual Builder Studio are amazing. I think the experiences are very elegant. It is that new modern consumer grade designed and deployed application, and it does give you those warm and fuzzies when you go to some of these self-service facing pages. So I think SaaS is doing a really good job at deploying new capability that has that consumer grade feel. And we'll look at that a little bit. Unifying data of disparate systems. So I mentioned this, right? Do you want to bring disconnected finance, supply chain, HCM systems underneath one ecosystem, and all of those all of a sudden are aware of each other, right? And eliminates integrations of where we're having to send a time reporting file downstream to our financial project system, and all of a sudden those are all using the same configuration, same set of data, and it makes that maintenance and middle layer, it minimizes that, right? And we don't need resources, we don't need to spend extra costs and time on standing up that functionality just to keep disparate systems interacting. Reducing our maintenance footprint and upgrade burden. Like I said, Oracle Cloud, there are ways to extend the application and do these really unique capabilities within it, but it's going to do it in a way that doesn't let you be invasive to the code line, invasive to the actual core application. So it's just more along the lines of event mapping or page and field configurator or drop zones, right? You're kind of isolating around the core functionality. Okay, and another thing I'd like to echo again, make sure that your executive leadership all the way down has the same commitment, same vision, and you're communicating that why often. If you don't, that is oftentimes one of the leading causes we see to a not successful implementation, or an implementation that has hardship, right? Is losing those marching orders, that direction of where we're going as a team and as an organization, and we lose that momentum. So just make sure everybody's on the same page and has the same goals. It's gonna be much more easy on you. So one of the most critical aspects of a successful implementation are your people and technology, right? You're going to have your key resources in your team that are really going to help you get across the line in a cloud implementation. So really what I want to highlight here are, what are we looking for in our teams? What do we need to ramp up skill set wise? What are the technologies we need to procure and get our organizations ready to perform an actual move to the cloud? So first things first, right? Do our teams understand our current processes and data? Do they understand what the foundational capability of PS job and how your companies look and how your business units are set up and divisions, how benefits admin works, payroll, how does time flow into payroll? Do they understand the base structures? What does the PS job table look like? What does PS location look like? And once they're able to understand what those base structures are, they're going to be able to more readily map to the cloud structures, which do have a lot of inherent relationship with PeopleSoft. If there's similarities, right? If you look at the underlying tables for PS job and you look at the worker structure in cloud, guess what? They look very similar. But if you're not in that level and understand that structure and why you built PS job and loaded the data the way you did, it's going to be harder to transform that into cloud. So start answering why you've done certain things, why the decisions for customizations, or how you're using these delivered structures. What were those decisions, and start cataloging those so that it can inform your decisions and implementation to a cloud solution. So skills currently exist. So here I'm talking about, things like SQL. SQL is huge, and I'm going to get into that on itself. Extension methodologies, right? Do you have teams doing event mapping, page fill configurator, drop zones, activity guides? Those are going to easily translate into cloud. There's equivalent type of capabilities in cloud. So as long as you have those methodologies in your team and you're currently using those, they're going to map nicely, right? And if not, maybe start looking at some of those capabilities and understanding what the methodology behind the scenes is, and you're going to be able to leverage that same thought pattern up in a cloud solution. So start ramping up those resources, start training your teams in what the cloud configuration path is. There's some free learning that I'll go over, but start, ramping up teams and the skill sets that you're going to need to go to cloud. And if not, do you have resources out externally that you can outsource or procure? A couple of key skill sets that we're looking for are integration skills, right? So in PeopleSoft, I know a lot of times we have application engines or SQRs, pooling data, extracting it, dumping it out into file formats, and SFTPing it upstream, downstream to consumers. That changes a little bit in cloud. We don't have necessarily a workhorse for process applications like an app engine. It's more interacting with your cloud system through endpoints like REST APIs or SOAP web services. So start ramping up on, how to use web services, how to get data in and out of a REST service. And that's really going to change your mindset in cloud a little bit. I know PeopleSoft through Integration Broker has some delivered PS job web services, for instance. Start taking a look at those. When a job is updated, somebody's hired, take a look at Postman and see what events are bubbled up and how that JSON structure looks. So you can start getting that concept of how you're going to integrate with your cloud system. Maybe you're going to map your PeopleSoft system to cloud and go through a coexistence strategy. Start doing that early. Extensibility, like I said, get ramped up on those tools, and the reporting and tech. SQL, make sure your SQL's being fostered and you're continuing to grow those skill sets within your teams. So tool wise, custom development tools. So one of the big pieces that the PeopleSoft platform application designer really enabled us as users, really enables us as users, is the ability to stand up custom apps and bolt-on applications. That capability didn't necessarily live in cloud where we could just spin up a cloud app or a bolt-on application. That has changed over the past just over a year now, I believe. There's cool new capability in cloud that actually enables you to do bolt-on applications, if you will, for better or worse. And I'll get into that. An orchestration layer, still seeing a gap here. Do you have a mechanism, a workhorse to do your extract, transform, load processes? Is going to be able to pull data out of cloud, feed it downstream, keep PeopleSoft and cloud in sync. You need a workhorse, something that does, all the processes we built into application engines or SQRs. We're going to need a tool that does something very similar. Okay, on to the next. So SQL. I think SQL is probably one of the most heavily utilized skills that I've experienced coming from PeopleSoft, and I think our team's experience coming from PeopleSoft into cloud. It is one of our workhorses, one of our technologies that we're really going to use during all aspects of an implementation. So before, during, after, it's going to come to play, right? Like right off the bat, we're analyzing our PeopleSoft database and our table structures, understanding what our data is, taking the opportunity to clean it. Maybe we have historic records back to 1932 that, those were archived, and maybe the data is just kind of dumbified at the time. You're trying to understand, okay, what do we need to cleanse? Where do we need to really tweak the data in order to get it into a structure where we want to feed that into cloud. So it's an opportunity to cleanse and understand those current structures and really alleviate and minimize what you need to go to cloud. So you're using that to clean. You're also using it to extract your data, your structures, foundational structures like department, locations, jobs, grades. You're bringing all that data out into a format for cloud, sending it to cloud and standing up those equivalent structures and mapping those up, right? SQL is doing all that work. You're extracting it to a file format. There's cloud tools that'll consume those extracts. Comparison. So once you get to cloud, hey, did all my departments make it there? Did all my person and employment and assignments make it up to cloud? You're doing your compares of granular data as well as counts and these larger structures. So you're doing that through SQL. You're reporting on it through cloud. And that's the next point. Within cloud, you're also using SQL to build reports, right? Through BI Publisher, you have access to the database. You can hit the foundational tables within cloud and analyze the data that's going up there. And oftentimes you look at those same structures, they look very similar to PeopleSoft, right? There's effective end dating in cloud, which is a little bit of a different paradigm than PeopleSoft's effective dating. But you look at the attributes and how it's, the events are storing off, very similar. Within the application, so very similar to component events, cloud gives you delivered hooks into the application logic in different events. So you enter a page or you're saving off something. They have hooks there where you can process logic through fast formulas is what it's called, proprietary. There's also hooks in that to call the database through SQL, right? So you're able to process logic and then reach out to the database and pull in different pieces of information that you need for your logic. And then for integrations, what the big hitter here is HCM extracts. It's all SQL based through what they call user entities, but under the hood, it's really data sources that are based on SQL, very view type structures, and then a more custom niche method to extract data is through BIP data models. You're standing up a data set based on SQL. You're extracting different formats for upstream, downstream, or really downstream, systems. I'll pause there real quick, Alyssa. Are there any questions on this first skill set or anything I've said up to this point?
No questions in the Q&A module. If anybody would like to open up their line, if you just want to raise your hand, we can give it maybe 15 or 20 seconds, see if anybody has anything.
That sounds good. Yeah, and as we go, we can just, keep a look. And if not, I will go to the next.
Yep. I'm not seeing anybody right now, so we'll just wait for the next break.
That sounds good. So next skill set, right? Let's ramp our teams up on what does an implementation in cloud look like through the cloud lens, right? So this is ramping up on the actual cloud training. There's a lot of free resources. So maybe you're not going to cloud tomorrow. Maybe it's a few years down the road. You can always go out there and start looking at the free training. There's free crash courses out on Oracle Learning that take you through, the tidbit size of how the system's configured. What do the modules look like? What is the functionality there? It starts ramping up your mind on what does living life in the cloud look like? What are the methodologies there? Start getting used to those thought patterns, and that's going to help drive your decisions. And when you procure and license Oracle Cloud, you're going to be ramped up on some of these different concepts and topics. It's going to help drive your conversations with leadership, with Oracle, with your implementation partner. I always think it's great to go out there and consume that free learning. But if you do want to go full blown, you want to have all the implementation knowledge and know exactly what you need to do to drive the car that you're going to purchase. There's full blown learning out there through Oracle University, right? You can go out and take these courses, take a certification and exam after, get your certification and your implementation knowledge. What I like to call CloudBooks is the next one. I always refer to it as CloudBooks, but it's through docs.oracle.com, which is your wealth of knowledge for Oracle documentation. Specifically, the SaaS area has its own set of documentation from implementation all the way through administering applications. Very similar format, right? How do you stand up the system? How do you administer it as an end user for the different modules, from everything from recruiting all the way through payroll. Also a great resource, right? You can kind of see how that implementation looks like. What are the steps you're going to go through? Same thing, you're getting used to these concepts of what does that recipe look like for a successful cloud move. Cloud Customer Connect. Haven't been there in a while, but this is our PeopleSoftInfo.com equivalent. I don't know if it's so called PeopleSoftInfo.com, but this is our community of cloud users, our user base where people are out there interacting with their successes and hurdles. Personally, I've been out there for hey, what have people done with 980 in a time card? What are the different solutions, successes, hurdles that people have had? So it really is a forum for us to as users, implementers, and developers within the cloud. It's our forum to really open up and leverage each other for successes and hurdles. And this is also where you go submit your ideas, right? Your enhancement requests. You go out and submit, hey, I would like a 980 in time card. We're really having a problem with this as an organization. User adoption, we're just not seeing. They're not getting paid. This is our forum to go out and spin up those ideas and then really gain that traction of other users are voting on it, and Oracle's listening. Oftentimes, Oracle product management development team are out on these forums, and they're looking at the buzz that's going on in the community, and they're there to answer, which is a great resource for us. Okay, integrations. This is a huge one for us, right? So cloud's a little more gated in how you can get data in and out of it. You're really using REST services, SOAP services, extracts for getting data in and out. Like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't quite looked at what a REST service is, how JSON is formatted when it responds to you, start taking a look at that. Go look at something like Postman that's free through Google, right? Hit your endpoints in PeopleSoft, see how your job data looks like, see how your department, your workforce structure data looks like, and how you call it. Ramping up on these skills and understanding how to call a REST endpoint to both feed data in and pull data out of your system is going to be key. Cloud has a huge catalog of pretty much all the objects in cloud, which I almost look like it's the base business object. It's almost like calling a CI that has all of the validation, all of the structure, all of the security access behind the scenes. You're calling these raw objects, and you're just returning that in a different format, right? So how do you read that format? How do you process it for your downstream integrations? How are you going to store it off into your data warehouses? Get used to REST services pretty quickly. They're awesome. I think go take a look at Postman if you haven't, and have fun with it. Coexistence. So we're seeing REST and SOAP services oftentimes used for coexistence strategies, right? So say, for instance, your organization isn't quite ready for a big bang from PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud Apps. Maybe you want to do performance because you have a very manual performance process, or learning or recruiting, for instance, and you really want to do incremental modules. You're still sourcing your data out of PeopleSoft, right? PeopleSoft is still your core HR, your PS job, your payroll data, but you need to sync pieces of that data up into cloud so that you can, run those modules like performance or recruiting, right? You would be running job data or core HR data. Oftentimes what you're seeing is REST services hooked up for that. Job data is updated. We hire somebody, we terminate somebody. We want a near real-time message to go up to cloud and synchronize that system so that it has the same population of people and is still transacting upon that same source of information. And REST services are one of your main workhorses there. Automating processes. So we see a lot of times on-premise scheduling software, right? So across the enterprise, we have different jobs running, security jobs, we have our HCM jobs, finance jobs running, and we have this control hub that's kicking off and scheduling these different jobs. You can also do that through REST services. So in cloud, you have something very similar to a process scheduler. You have a list of jobs and a job set that you want to, sequence and structure. You can run that both in cloud through its process scheduler equivalent, or you can kick it off remotely through a scheduling application. So there's a lot of cool REST endpoints that you can hit in cloud. Technology, orchestration layer. So exactly along those lines, right? What is it going to be our workhorse to call these REST endpoints to pull data out of cloud through BIP or extracts and transform it, massage it into the formats that we need to go downstream, downstream applications, perhaps a person management system that's updating person numbers or something in cloud. How do we pull that data from downstream, feed it into cloud? We need that middle layer, that orchestration layer that's really going to do that pushing, pulling, transforming for us. Nothing built within HCM SaaS per se, right? Best of breed would be Oracle Integration Cloud, which is a separate license, but it has adapters and it does have hooks into SaaS and allows you to do that communication up and downstream. But within cloud itself, there's not a strong capability that's going to do that ETL processing for you. So definitely a huge technology and capability that you need to be mindful of before you get to your cloud implementation. Start procuring that tool early. The last thing you want to do is be in the middle of a cloud implementation and say, oh, we need a tool that's going to take our person and worker information and be able to synchronize all of our job data downstream, right? So do that early. Data warehouse, another key pivot point that you're going to have in your implementation is how much data do we want to take up into cloud, right? Do we want to take all those 1932 records up into cloud, or do we really need the top of stack, most current information that we need to transact upon? Do we need to know all this history that we've archived or converted before? Maybe not. So this is really your pivot point to understand what is that line in the sand you draw? What are you going to leave behind? What are you going to bring into cloud for it to transact? You can bring in full history into cloud, but it's going to bloat your implementation, your timeline. You're probably going to have to stand up extra structures and configuration to support a full-blown history within cloud. And not saying that history isn't needed. Oftentimes, one of the strategies we see is, okay, we're going to take all of our archived PeopleSoft data and move that into a data warehouse. We're going to keep pay stubs because we're legally obligated to keep those, or worker data and assignment history that we need to be audited on. Oftentimes, you're seeing that historic data being archived into a data warehouse. So if you don't have one today, start thinking about that. Where are we going to archive all this data, store it off, so that we can access it, but we don't necessarily need it day to day in our operations, and end users don't necessarily need it in our new cloud system. But maybe audit comes through the door, we need to be able to access that. Development platform. So where are we going to do all of our bolt-ons, right? For better or worse, we've taken on a lot of work in PeopleSoft and through App Designer because it was a great tool. We could spin up very complex or lightweight applications that were pretty elegant through App Designer, and fairly rapidly we could deploy an application. Whether it belonged in HCM or not is the question. That's what you want to ask yourself as you're going through your customization analysis is, does this belong in HCM? Is it complementary to HCM? If not, start thinking about peeling off those customizations to other best of breed software, custom dev teams that really should house this. To this point within cloud, there wasn't a development platform necessarily for quite a while. And I think I mentioned about a year and a half, about a year ago, Cloud World 2022, Steve Miranda announced that Oracle is giving us unprecedented access to the same development platform that Oracle Apps uses to deploy their new Redwood UI applications. So within SaaS now, we do have a solution to to create bolt-ons and stand up our own bespoke applications called Visual Builder Studio. Part of the app designer equivalent is what I'm seeing. It's missing that orchestration layer, like the app engines, the SQR pieces of it, but it's really, our components and our pages that we're building in PeopleSoft. We do now have a capability to build pages component equivalents in cloud. Okay, customizations. So just as in PeopleSoft, right? Take a configure, extend, build approach. Figure out what you can configure in the applications now. Oftentimes, we made decisions in the past, and the tools grown and new capabilities been deployed that we haven't taken a look at. And maybe something that we customize is all of a sudden a configuration. We just need to understand that and be able to map to that. If we can't configure it, let's extend. What are the different tools that we have available to us to extend? How can we bake this into the system in the least invasive way? And lastly, okay, we build a custom solution for this. So perform those customizations analysis early. There are a lot of great tools out there. At very least, a compare report. You run your compare reports, understand what your customizations are. There's full-blown tools. At Elire, we have a full-blown customization analysis tool that we use to really drop out and bucket what your customizations are and give you that insight. Understand what those are and understand your fit gap, how you can map these functionalities to cloud. And if you're not able to map those, start peeling them off early, right? Like, for instance, a medical restrictions app or community relations app I worked on in PeopleSoft. One of the goals was to try to start peeling those off early and move those off into, outside vendors that potentially already had a solution for us. And we didn't need to maintain and spend all the development budget and all the maintenance dollars on rebuilding this. And also use traffic data, right? So today you can start putting in hooks into your components or different customizations that you've built. Use something like Splunk to track log data to see how many times users are visiting that page. How often are people using this capability, right? That's going to help drive your discussions and decision making. Maybe you have somebody at the top loves this page and they swear by it, and we need to roll this capability and customization forward. There's a lot of emotions behind that. So the data behind it gives it a little bit more of a, an informed approach as to how often are we using this capability, and it'll drive your cloud discussions. So kind of reiterating here, implement your development tools early, procure a tool to do your bolt-ons early if you don't want to use the built-in one. Visual Builder, Apex, and on-premise frameworks will take care of that. Identify who has the know-how, who has the software or best-of-breed solutions. Procure those early. You don't want to do it in the middle of your cloud implementation. Get an orchestration layer, something like best-of-breed OIC. If you have an on-premise SOA suite, that'll work, but you need a workhorse to do all your ETL processing. And like I said before, build through configuration rather than code. Empower your users to use your new system that you're procuring, right? Don't bake it into and you can't bake it into those low levels anymore, but empower your users. So this is kind of a mapping chart here. So where does my PeopleSoft capability of today live tomorrow in cloud? What I wanted to highlight here is some of those buckets of where your capability goes. So from an application designer perspective for, building pages, components, standalone apps, so it's like a sing-along when you're building your app. That's Visual Builder, right? So you're able to build a custom application. You're able to extend delivered applications that are Redwood UI. Very cool candidate that's now baked into the same ecosystem, same license as when you procure Cloud HCM. Oracle Application Express is another tool that you could use to stand up custom applications. Only caveat there is it doesn't have those easy built-in adapters that Visual Builder does. Visual Builder has access to the full-blown HCM catalog. It knows what the objects are, the components and underlying structures are. Apex, you have to build those. And same with, there's a lot of on-premise development tools that we see teams use and take on these bolt-on applications through their on-premise app dev tools. App engines for the ETL processing, like I mentioned, OIC or SOA would take advantage of that, or could satisfy that. OIC, another note that I would like to make, it does come with a built-in version of Visual Builder. The only difference is that it's beefed up in that you get a database and you get a REST proxy that allows you to do a little more beefed up development if you're truly trying to use Visual Builder as your development platform outside of HCM. Activity guides and guided self-service. I was a huge fan of activity guides in PeopleSoft and Activity Guide Wizard. Thought those interactions were very elegant in driving through users in different tasks and guided flows within PeopleSoft. That's even more beefed up in cloud in what's called journeys, right? Same concept of walking a user through these often very difficult processes, maybe disparate tasks in a very elegant way, and driving them to driving them through this transaction. So journeys within cloud is excellent. I think they've done a really good job. Page and field configurator, right? You want to configure a page to do some defaulting or validation when you submit. There's equivalent to that in cloud. Autocomplete rules, page composer, you can do that defaulting validation type of functionality in cloud as well. Delivered record extensions. For better or worse, I think most of us are probably guilty of doing record extensions, whether it's through modifying a delivered record, which would be a no-no, or creating a child record, right? PS Job Junior, for instance, right? We need these records to house custom data that means something to our organization, and there's a lot of meaning behind why we've made those decisions and done that development. In cloud, a concept also exists within the delivered records. There's all these placeholders within those records called flex fields. And they're essentially fields that you can make meaning of and really fine tune that record for what you want it to mean to your organization. Like I said, there's placeholders. I've never seen anybody reach the limit of attributes and fields that you can actually configure. I think it's like 25 per type. So you have 25 dates, characters, numerics, I don't know, there's blobs in there, but different fields, and you have flexibility to configure a record. Custom reports, you do have BI Publisher if you want to hit the database. Through OBIE, you have delivered analysis, subject area, so it's kind of prepackaged queries for you that you can slice and dice into like a very pivot grid type of capability. Goal there though is you can get access to the raw data within cloud. There's the capability there to look at tables. Custom component events, I mentioned fast formulas. Those are delivered hooks into events. Component interfaces, how you get data in and out of cloud integration broker is through REST APIs. I think I mentioned the importance of those. And then the other one is HCM data loader. So that's our bulk loading mechanism of, hey, we're rolling up 20,000 different users, 20,000 employees with their records and their benefits and setting up their earnings and deductions. You're using this bulk load capability called HCM data loader, takes flat files from your PeopleSoft extracts, uploads those into cloud. Very, very CI-like, the business object is validating what you're uploading. Cool capability. And then custom tables, you can actually build custom tables in cloud through application composer, custom table objects, user-defined tables for lightweight, rate lookup mappings, for instance, and time and labor. You enter this code, here's the rate you're going to get in the calculation. And then Visual Builder, the licensed versions outside of SaaS do come with a database. So you can actually get in the database and create your own objects. So on to my favorite part of it, I've been pretty excited about this one over the past year or so, Visual Builder. So what is it? It's a development platform that you use to extend the delivered Redwood UI pages. And it's only the new Redwood UI pages that they're deploying using this. And then building custom bespoke applications. Like I said, it's built into SaaS, no extra licenses needed. And it's very heavy on, and I didn't mention these skill sets, but it's very heavy on the client side technologies, HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and then your workhorse for getting data in and out is going to be REST. It's also a managed service. So all of the security, the database servers that you're setting up as part of your cloud ecosystem that are managed for you, guess what? Visual Builder is also sitting on top of it in that same ecosystem. And I'd like to note this is the same exact tool that Oracle is using to deploy their new Oracle applications. It's really a design-led movement to provide those consumer grade applications. So I'll go ahead and get in there and spin that up. And Alyssa, as I'm getting into Visual Builder, do you want to see if there's any questions?
Sure thing. Just a reminder, if you want to raise your hand, that's down at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. We can open up your mic, or just remember you can post those questions in the Q&A module as well. Nothing right now, Michael.
Thank you. Okay, let me log back in. So I just want to give you a little quick highlight of what Visual Builder is looking like, and hopefully get some of you excited. So what I'm in now right now is Oracle Cloud HCM. Very similar landing pages, different tabs to different functional areas. So what I'm going to go into now is Visual Builder, which is our full-blown development platform. So not just a designer to build and stand up pages, but it's also our development lifecycle, right? How do we manage the testing, the bug fixing, the deployment to production? This is your GitHubs, your continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines. This is where different people are, say for instance, we're spinning off a project and we're working on this custom map. It's where we work on it together, and how we manage our changes and merge those changes together. It has wikis built in so that we can keep notes and changes that we need to make each other aware of tracked. It's sprint board, so we can actually track our tasks and work within sprints and how we're deploying this functionality. So it's really managing projects and new custom development within SaaS. And like I said, this is all out of the box within SaaS. I'll go into a quick example I had. So, this use case was, okay, we're going to build a remote location page to track where people are working remotely nowadays. That's going to extend really our job data equivalent in cloud. So what I just hopped into now as a designer, it's runtime. This is all browser-based development that you're managing on the cloud, and it's built on the cloud for our cloud applications. So it does have component palettes very similar to what we had in App Designer. You have different objects that you can drag and drop onto a page. So your edit boxes, your inputs, your grids, your charts, your searches, and how it searches. All that's built in here, and it's very drag and drop friendly. The goal is that we don't have to constantly develop and code how you search on a page or how a chart looks and how it needs to interact and behave. It's hey, use this template, use this component, then configure it on top. So then you have different properties of where you want to point your data, how do you want this chart and grid to look. So very drag and drop based. But if you're a full-blown developer and you want to get into the code, it's building the code as you're dragging and dropping and designing. It gives you access to the raw code that you can also get in here and inject custom code, if you will, right? Maybe on a certain action, you need to inject a custom function or external call. You can come in here and code that. So it's your visual page. It ties up all the events and actions. When you click, when I search for, a name, click this button, what are the events it's firing off? It's going to go call a REST service. So that's the other thing I would like to mention. Within this development tool, it's self-aware of your HCM REST services. Like I said before, REST services is how you're going to be interacting with a lot of this data in and out. It has the catalog of what your services are. For instance, here, this is hooked up to my worker data. So this is our equivalent for PS job. So cool new tool. Like I said, this is really our page and component development here. It's still missing kind of that process application part that App Designer had, or App Engines had. But this is a huge capability that dropped within cloud, and a very exciting capability. So this is what I know myself coming as a PeopleSoft developer. This is something I was chomping at the bit and waiting for a capability like this. So I'm happy to say that Oracle Apps does now have that capability, and it's getting beefed up more and more every day. So I think I'll go ahead and end that on that note, and leave. I think it's 4 minutes for questions. Is that right, Alyssa?
That's right. Yep.
All right.
So let's see. Nothing in the Q&A right now.
Okay. I missed a whole slew of slides, but reach out to me if yeah, I got about let's see, we had about 5 to go. It's more data migration, and I don't want to put everyone to sleep on that one, but like I said, I'm up here in the Northwest, so I go to a lot of the PeopleSoft community meetups in this area for the Northwest rug. If you're in the area, feel free to reach out to me, michael.marthy@elire.com. Let's meet up and talk about PeopleSoft and the cloud apps, and all the new exciting functionality that's being deployed. Some more resources here, right? Cloud Customer Connect. Go out there and see what the churn on the cloud side is, what the buzz is. Start looking out there and seeing what people are talking about. Look at those Oracle roadmaps, right? Maybe there's a big crux and catalyst that you're waiting for to be put on that roadmap. Oftentimes, the roadmap has it. So take a look at it. Maybe you can start planning on what that critical functionality that you need to come down the pipe is. Visual Builder resources. So start ramping up your teams on the development platform that I just showed. Redwood.oracle.com. Awesome resource, and very exciting resource. So all in all, it's never too early to start ramping up your teams in technology. Not that I live this, but you don't want to wait till the middle of an implementation to start figuring some of the stuff out. So maybe it's 5 years, 10 years down the road, but you definitely start thinking about it. So I appreciate everyone joining me today, and feel free to shoot me any questions that you have.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for joining today. The next round of sessions starts at 11:30 Eastern. So get ready to hop onto your next session. And again, please reach out to Michael, or if you need to get in touch with him, you can reach out to Quest as well. So thanks, Michael. And I'll see everybody on another session.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Alyssa.
Bye.